What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about everything First Order can do within the game. A lot of people are going for Supreme Leader Kylo Ren as their first Galactic Legend, so of course there's questions about everything that you can do with First Order, and that's what we're going to break down in today's video. We're going to talk about PvP modes, PvE, different events, raids, everything that you guys can do with First Order in the game. We're going to break that down today. So with that, there's going to be some videos I'm going to be referencing during this, different guides that go into in-depth things that I reference. If you guys want to check them out for yourselves, there'll be links to them down below in the video description. Recommend you guys go check them out if you want to get more in-depth looks at some of these different strategies and runs that these teams can do. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive first into PvP with Grand Arena and Territory Wars. That's where you're more than often going to see First Order anyways. So let's start off with defense. First Order are a fantastic defensive team, and they've gotten even better with the inclusion of Sith Trooper now being part of the First Order faction. With him and General Hux coming into the game, First Order have gotten far more potent, and then you have the Galactic Legend, of course, as well. But Sith Trooper is a defensive juggernaut, for not just for First Order, but also Sith, but he gets a lot more synergy with your First Order teams, and one thing I recommend you guys do is get the unique Zeta on Sith Trooper, Emperor's Legacy, because anytime that a First Order or Sith ally is defeated, the cooldown on his AoE attack Vengeance Blast is reset. He gains advantage for one turn and takes a bonus turn. This is a big deal, and this makes him a defensive nightmare, because whenever he has advantage, he also deals plus 50% crit damage. The crew lead gives him bonus crit damage as well. He can deal a lot of damage with him, and at Relic 7, with these offense mods on him, look at this, almost 10,000 physical damage. He is going to absolutely murder if you cannot get rid of him, and this makes him a fantastic defensive character. Him with the crew lead, and throwing in some other characters, First Order Executioner, First Order Stormtrooper, they all work together so well. You have a pre-taunt with Kylo Ren unmasked. The leadership with him also gives bonus speed, bonus health and protection regeneration. They gain bonus Terminator when landing critical hits. They are a defensive team. They are just something that you do want to throw in there, and I recommend you guys put them towards the end, one of the back walls, because at that point you had to use most of your meta teams to defeat some of those tougher teams out there. And by the time they get to a team like this with First Order, they usually don't have a lot left in the tank. And in one of our recent Territory Wars, I threw my First Order into one of our back walls with Territory Wars and scored a whopping 11 holds with this team in that Territory War. It was great, and this is something you can also bring into Grand Arena. You have those walls in the back, throw First Order in there, because your opponent has to use some of his other teams first before he gets to First Order. This gives him this kind of gives you more favorable odds for First Order getting that second hold and really kind of eating up banners that your opponent could possibly score. So defensive team, great. Kylo Ren unmasked, Sith Trooper, First Order Executioner, First Order Stormtrooper, that kind of thing can really make you hold really well on defense. And if you want to look for something for offense with cleanup, you can also use General Hux or Captain Phasma. They're your other two leads. General Hux, I'd say, is the better lead out of the two, mostly because you don't need a Zeta, but also because there's basic attacks dealing more damage, there's counter chance, crit damage, there's bonuses here. He can also prevent the enemy team from gaining turn meter. General Hux can make for a very strong offensive team as well. And if you do want to get a little crazy and try Sith Trooper on offense, I tried this out in a video trying to see if Sith Trooper can make even a Captain Phasma lead possible. And honestly, at the end of the day, Sith Trooper can carry a First Order team to victory over some solid mid-tier teams like your Bounty Hunters, your Cartho Nassi, Old Republic teams. Something on that level you can defeat with Sith Trooper on that offensive team. But if you are going to throw a Sith Trooper on defense, which is what I recommend, you're possibly going to have like a lower end team that you can use for offense. So your two TIE pilots, your First Order officer, Captain Phasma or General Hux lead, and then Kylo Ren masked. That could get you a solid, like, that just gives you a lower tier team. Not the best thing for offense, but it is something that you can do with them, which sucks because, I mean, you are putting high relics on these characters anyways, and they're still not really getting up to that tier, not really punching up above their weight that you would think they would do with relics at that point. Defensive wise, you get a strong defensive team, you get a okay at best offensive team. This will apply for both Grand Arena and Territory Wars. So PvP wise, they're pretty solid. Let's talk about PvE, and let's start with the events first you're going to see with these characters. Some of the events that you're going to use First Order for. So in terms of events that you can use First Order for, we already know that the legendary event to get BB-8, you have to use First Order. That's no real secret, and honestly, if you're working on Supreme Leader Kylo Ren, you should have already gotten this event completed and filled out. Just something that you can use First Order for. But in terms of other events, the Assault Battles Places of Power event where you fight against the Jedi with your First Order. This is one that they just gave the new challenge levels to, and in those you can get relic materials and also Zetas, which is a big deal for us, especially since, you know, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren is going to have 6 Zetas, which, I mean, that's kind of overkill. But yes, so you can use First Order in this, and it's not the easiest thing. You do have to be careful with this, and it does get a little challenging, especially if you use Sith Trooper, because Sith Trooper can give himself crit immunity, and Grandmaster Yoda can steal that and give it to his whole team. But you can complete the Places of Power, the final tier, with your First Order. It's not the easiest thing. It can get a little nerve-wracking if you can't keep Grandmaster Yoda under control, but that is a nice little event that you can use your First Order for, and since you're going to be putting relics on them anyways for Kylo Ren, might as well go ahead and try to use them in this Assault Battles mission as well. So a nice little event that you can use them for. If you're looking for things to do with your First Order in the raids, do check out these 2 videos from DB Official 125. He does 2 videos, one for both the Rogue AAT and the Sith Raid. In the Sith Raid video, he uses Traya with Thrawn and Kylo Ren Unmasked, First Order Executioner, and First Order Officer, and does 45% of Phase 1, which is just absolutely absurd. You can knock out half of Phase 1 with this team, and it's that First Order Executioner constantly stacking up his health, which means he gets the bonus offense as well, and you can do well over 500,000 damage with a hit from First Order Executioner by the end of your run. Just do some absolute bonkers damage with them. Shout out to DB for that video. And then he also did a video showing how you can do an auto solo of the Heroic AAT raid with your First Order team as well, using a General Hux lead. The real thing here with the General Hux lead is that basic attack dealing 50% more damage. Now, when you add that in with the new Sith Trooper as well, you press this team on auto and it clears the entire tank raid in about 15 minutes, which is, again, another team that's absolutely great. Another auto solo team that we have out there is the Shock Troopers, or Shock T, and the 501st Clones, and that takes about the same amount of time. So with these First Order characters, you get another Rogue AAT solo team. Takes about the same amount of time, does some nasty damage numbers, especially with Sith Trooper under that General Hux lead, and another team that you guys can put into the tank raid that gives you a solo opportunity. So your First Order actually have some very strong PvE raiding kind of opportunities. You have the 2 raids that they can do some massive damage on with Phase 1 of the Sith raid, they can auto solo Heroic AAT, and then you come to the territory battle, the Geonosian territory battle, and let me tell you right now, with the new First Order characters, with General Hux and Sith Trooper, you have an easy 3 of 4 on Phase 4 of the TB. This will easily become a 4-4 in Phase 4 of the fights once you have Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. You have a deadly, oh my gosh. You have a deadly team for yourself ready to go for the Geonosian territory battle. This is another one that is nice to have because usually most of the time we're having to use Night Sisters or Bounty Hunters or some kind of lackluster team because of the platoons and having to donate something like our Darth Revans, or having to donate those top end characters, and your Separatists have their own missions they have to go into as well. So if you can get another solid dark side team that can easily clear 3 or 4 ways of a combat mission, that's something that should be noted and something that you should definitely look at using, and First Order falls into this category with them being able to clear those phases. The Sith Trooper and General Hux actually, they kind of help you bring things back in balance for your team. Sith Trooper can cleanse all debuffs on your team, and General Hux can remove all buffs from the enemy team. And if you're finding something like these light side characters in Geonosian territory battle, you know they're all about the buff. So having an AoE dispel like you have with General Hux, that's a big deal. So having that on the field with this team, this First Order team can quickly bring things back to your advantage with the removal of debuffs on your side, the removal of buffs on the enemy side, and you can get some very solid damage to them as well, especially with that Sith Trooper assist going on as well. So Your First Order are a very strong PvE team. You have the events that you can use them with, Places of Power. They are very strong Sith raid teams, auto solo heroic AAT team as well, and you can also use them to really clear some of those harder combat missions as well, and really get some good damage there too. Overall, First Order are in a very good place in terms of PvE kind of gameplay. And then finally, we get to ships. First Order finally have a fleet. This is something that's been long overdue with them, something we've been waiting on for a long time. We finally have a First Order fleet and the finalizer with the General Hux capital ship. Yeah, this is just an absolute wrecker of any kind of Ackbar teams that you're going to find out there, mostly due to the hunted ability or the hunted debuff, where out of turn attacks deal 75% less damage and that target can't gain bonus turn meter. This allows you to quickly neutralize any Ackbar fleet that you're going to find, whether it's in Fleet Arena, Grand Arena, Territory Wars. Ackbar fleets on defense are not really sustainable if you're fighting against a First Order team with the fleets here. The First Order fleet is just an Ackbar killer. Now, you can defeat General Kenobi Negotiator fleets. It's way trickier, and Arnold showed this in one of his videos where he used the Gauntlet Starfighter with the First Order fleet, and that buff immunity put on Anakin Starfighter prevents him from gaining the stealth buff and gaining the bonus turn meter and everything. The Gauntlet Starfighter allows you to kind of negate the General Kenobi Negotiator fleet. It's a little tricky, and it relies on getting that buff immunity, so it's not a guaranteed win, but if you can get that buff immunity to stick, you have a good chance of defeating that General Kenobi fleet. So it's not exactly a 100% true counter. There is some RNG going on there with debuffs, but if you are looking for something for your fleet, this is definitely an offensive fleet. Do not throw this on defense. I'm going to tell you right now, I tried it on defense and Fleet Arena. I dropped like a rock. This is not something you want to do. This is not a defensive fleet at all because there's the constant kind of specific commands you have to do. The TIE Silencer is just an absolute killer with this First Order fleet. You can do hundreds of thousands of damage with his special. There's bonus crit damage, there's defense penetration, offense up. The TIE Silencer is just an absolute killer with this fleet. The finalizer with your First Order ships, definitely a strong offensive fleet, not something you want to put on defense. Can defeat Ackbar, can defeat Negotiator, and you know, is going to be something that is very helpful because now you can pick off those Ackbar fleets with this, and then you can save your other higher tier ships like your Negotiator, like your Malevolence, for those higher tier defensive ships like the Negotiator, like the Malevolence, and fight those mirror matches on a more even footing. Because right now, Ackbar and the Finalizer and the Raddus, they're kind of a step lower than the Negotiator, Malevolence. Maybe we'll get better ships in the future to bring up Raddus and Finalizer. We'll see. But for now, strong offensive fleet here that allows you to open up and use some of your other better ships for offense too. So yes, First Order, definitely a very solid faction now. Going to be even better once we get Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. And for anybody who is working on this and trying to get him unlocked, now you know what you can do with your First Order while you're waiting, or things you can do with your First Order already since you have them upgraded, and things to look forward to as you're upgrading them. Let me know down below, what do you guys think of the First Order faction? Let me know. As always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. I will see you guys next time.